this week's Shabbos. Welcome to this week's Kabbalat Shabbat on Zoom. And it's my great pleasure to invite Leigh to give us the Torah.
Good Shabbos, everybody. It's me again. Forgot what I was going to say. This week's Sedra is the Sedra of Tetzaveh, which interestingly, it is the only time in the Torah that word appears. Just thought you should know that. It is also the only Sedra in the book of Shemos where Moses' name doesn't appear. It's just by the by, just two bits of throwaway information. But if you read through this week's Sedra, it talks about making oil for the menorah in the sanctuary, and going on to talk about the vestments of the high priest and all and those things, which all of it would seem pretty irrelevant today. You'd say, well, what is the point of reading this or looking at it, studying it? But surprisingly, that very opening section has enormous repercussions to shuls and things today. Making the oil is so that the Kohanim in the mornings would make sure that the middle branch of the menorah was always lit. And if it went out, they would relight it. And so it was a duty of the Kohanim to do. And what we have as a result of that is the Ner Tamid in our shul, the everlasting light. That's what it represents. Now, it doesn't have to be a light all the time because bulbs fail in these days. But as soon as that bulb can be replaced, we relight it. We effectively change the bulb to keep the light alight. And every shul has to have a Ner Tamid. It doesn't have to be red. It doesn't have to look like a flame. It can be any light. Any light bulb will act as a Ner Tamid during the service. And that is specifically and directly from the opening command of keeping this candelabra, this menorah, alight. So shuls are often built with the item above the ark, but there are many shuls where they're on the side wall or wherever. So there's no specific rules about it, just that when you hold a service, there has to be a light in the room. The center light in the menorah, by the way, was the one that from all the others, the other branches were lit from the light from that one. And the middle one always pointed upwards, whereas the ones on the other branches pointed in different directions according to which ceremonial they were doing. The other thing that's fascinating is that it says you have to make oil. Well, it takes 8 days to make that oil. So it wasn't a last minute thing. You had to plan ahead, and you had to be aware of how much oil you had left. And therefore, by making it 8 days, the oil was always ready to be used by pre-arranging and pre-making it. But that is why Hanukkah lasts 8 days, because it takes 8 days to make the oil. If it took 20 days, we could have 20 days of donuts and French fries and all the rest of it, because that's how long Hanukkah would have been. The miracle was purely because of 8 days, is purely because it takes that long to make the oil. It's also, the lesson we learn from this is about pre-planning, about making sure you're ready for whatever event comes along. Try to be ready. And I'm talking to myself for this one because I fell over in the street during the week because I wasn't really looking where I was going. So you really should be careful when you walk along the street and not trip over any obstacles. And be prepared to make sure you always have Shabbos candles and candles to light the shul, and that the lamps are always there, so that everything is in its place. When it comes to the clothes of the Kohanim, I'm not an expert on that, so I'm not going to talk about that today. Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and Am Yisrael Chai.
Thank you very much, Leigh, for that Torah, and hope you're feeling better after your flying trip.